We're just a little over 2 weeks from the opening game of the Toledo Rockets football season on the road in Lexington against Kentucky. And we are here tonight with a special guest. I'm Rocket Ryan Brandt here on the Midnight Blue and Gold Launchpad.
I am Pat Gillick, a.k.a. PJ Spiller.
I am Dan Rocket Man Savage.
I'm Nate the Texas Rocket.
And I'm Kyle W.
That's Kyle W. Smith, engineer producer extraordinaire, to you and me. As I mentioned, we have a special guest tonight. He is co-offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, and all-around good guy, Mike Hallett. Mike, once again, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming back.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Great to be with you. Always a great opportunity to talk about Toledo football.
Now, are you talking to who there? Because I don't know if all of us are considered gentlemen, so you got to make.
Well, I use the term as appropriate for those in attendance.
There you go. Use it very loosely. I recommend. So anyway, Coach, hey, thanks so much. How's your summer going? First of all, I know it's one of those deals where probably went pretty fast, but you're ready to get the season started.
Yeah, no question. We had a busy June with camps and visiting a number of kids on campus and trying to get going on the 26th class of recruitment. Then we got a little break and then got back to it here as we ramped into July, and we've been full steam ahead now for 2 weeks with practice and, seeing growth out of our guys every day. So it's been good.
Good.
Coach,
and how's that one?
You guys went through a very different start to fall camp this year, heading down to Mount Union. I think I can assume the connections while we were down there, but how was that for the guys? Were we staying in dorms? Like, what did that week look like?
Yeah, we all stayed in the dorms. We were all housed in one dorm there on campus. The setup was really nice because Mount Union's campus is really beautiful, and everything that we were going to utilize was all, you go across a street and you're in the football locker room, and you go across a courtyard and you're in the cafeteria. You go, up on the south end of campus, and you're going by a separate Dom Capers football offices and classrooms, to the weight room, to the MAC Center where we had some meetings, and right beside all that was their practice facility and the stadium on the other side. So, it was very, I think, a very good way to start camp. Every year that we've been here with Coach Candle, we would normally start, because preseason is so long, we'd start in a mini camp format where we'd come in the mornings and, try to get everything done by 1:00 and give the guys the afternoon. And, that was a good format for the first 4 days. But we hit the ground running. We had the guys, morning, afternoon, evening. You could just invest more in the players in terms of football, but also in terms of them becoming the men you want them to be. And our older players doing a great job leading the young players. So there was a lot of growth in our football team through that, I guess, 8 days that we were there. I think it was really good for us. A lot of camaraderie built.
Did we run into like Mount Union also practicing, or how did that kind of work out throughout the week?
No, Division III, their season won't start till September 6th. So their players probably just reported here yesterday or the day before.
Gotcha.
Like they have a later start, and that's what made this going off campus and being able to take advantage of the facilities that Mount has, because Mount's facilities would be the envy of a lot of FCS schools, to be very honest with you. They've done a great job of developing great facilities there through, timely donations and things like that. So it was a really good experience, and it was just us on campus. There was a couple days. There's a musical outfit, like this huge nationally renowned marching band that was there for like one of the weekends we were there, but it was fine. They used the stadium, we used the practice facility. We were in the stadium the last day, which was, that was good. It was nice for those of us that are former Purple Raiders, but the kids just wanted to work at football and get better. They wanted to connect with their teammates. Those were the goals that Coach Candle had, and I think we did that very well in 8 days.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, you had a very nice off season as far as transfers go. We didn't lose any players upward, some lateral moves, and signed a lot of nice transfers from larger programs. So I'm sure there was a lot of bonding that had to go on, a lot of, indoctrination for these guys coming into the program. And I'm sure this week away probably did wonders for that.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was, I think everybody, through workouts and everything, knew who guys were, but didn't really know who the people were. And I think there was a lot of those connections within position groups, but also cross positionally. Coach did a good job of not just rooming, hey, the first guard with the second guard and the first center with the second center. There was a mixed match of experience and position guys. And I'm sure at first some guys were like, why am I rooming with this dude? And by the end, they really had a really good bond after that time together. So, I think everything was planned out very well to help the connectivity of our team get maximized in 8 days. So it was very productive, and we did really good at football too. So, that's still important as well.
How do you like this offensive line this year, Coach? I mean, you got the transfer coming in from Pitt, Terrence Moore, anchoring that line, playing center, 6'5", 305, 10 starts at an ACC school.
Well, Terrence has been great. He's a kid that I recruited out of high school at Massillon, Washington High School. I believe I was his first offer at their junior showcase day. And it worked out that Terrence, gained more offers and chose Pitt. And it just, I think 2 years ago when he was playing a lot for Pitt, I think that was a really good experience for him. But they had an offensive staff change. Terrence went through a spring ball with a new offensive staff and was fighting an injury, and it didn't work out for him the way he had hoped. And so we were able to get him back down here to visit with us. And actually, he came before our bowl game. He came during our bowl prep and was here for a weekend. It's like, yeah, this is everything that I want college football to be. So he's been a great addition for sure.
Be able to give you any tips on the Pitt Panthers there leading in?
He didn't give us a whole lot. He gave us a little bit on some things offensively that didn't, but not really. I mean and we didn't ask him to. Like that's not why we recruited Terrence Moore. I had Terrence Moore in high school, so I still wanted him.
So that leads us into. I hope you don't mind, Coach. We're going to briefly break down some of the position groups, but that leads us into Nate's field of study at this point, the offensive line and the changes that have gone on there and the growth of the guys that have been in the program for a while. So, Nate, hit it.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan kind of touched on, big transfer to Pitt, Terrence. Right side, I know, had a couple guys returning from last year. Left side, probably going to be a couple new guys. How are they gelling, and how's Tucker doing with the new center? Everything looking good there, and
yeah, last year we had Alan Jones, who was a 1 year guy for us that came in, and then we had Jacob James from Ohio State that came in. But through the course of last year, we had a couple games where Jacob wasn't available, and Ethan Spose moved to center, and Grant Zimmerly played guard, and we were fine. We had a couple games where Allen wasn't available, and Steve Gales played. Started 3 games, played majority of 4 games. I think those guys that were a collection of guys that were inexperienced last year, we bring a lot of connectivity within that group of guys. Terrence has fit in very well. I'm really excited about the guys that are emerging as twos, because a lot of those guys are going to be ready to play games for us in 2 weeks as well. So we've got good depth. We've got really good cohesiveness, and we got guys that are playing at a very high level, and a lot of them. So I'm excited about where we're headed.
got another kind of follow-up question for the transfer. You talked about you recruited Terrence in a high school. With the transfer portal and all that, is it pretty key now to keep those connections with guys that might not have chose Toledo first, but always have an option?
I think there's value in recruiting guys to build a relationship. I think those of us that, cut our teeth in Division III where there's no scholarships, you're really good at building relationships with people. And you may get the kid and you may not. And some coaches, when they recruit guys and the kid decides on a different school, there'd be guys that would be real jerks about it, and tell the kid he's making a mistake and you're an idiot and all that. And that I've never done that when I was, when I was at Thomas More or I was at Heidelberg. If the kid said, "Hey, I'm picking school A or B," I'm like, "Dude, I wish you the best." I hate that I don't get to coach you, but I want nothing but what's good for you. And I think as you end those relationships at that time, that's going to resonate with that kid. And I think all these kids, to some degree, are going to remember the guys that recruited them really well. And so, yeah, we've had success with, Jacob James was a kid that I recruited in high school. And when he was ready to make a move, he felt like Toledo was a natural choice. Same with Terrence Moore. Dom Rivera joined us this summer. He's a Cleveland area kid from Olmsted Falls that, and ultimately chose Rutgers and went to Rutgers, and it wasn't the experience that he had hoped for. And so when he was available, I reached out because we wanted one more piece. And, I think I would never maintain relationships with kids, meaning I'm going to continue to talk to a kid when he's in another school. But you try to end that high school recruitment in a way that if the kid's not happy where he is, he's probably going to have good memories of the relationship he had with you, and that can lead to some good rekindling of a relationship and the ability to pick up where you left off with a kid, and it seems kind of seamless. That's been good for us. That's been good for me here in terms of if we need portal players. That would be my first choice: is who's in the portal that I recruited before, who's in my phone, because there's hundreds and hundreds of kids, and there might be kids from a few years ago that I may or may not remember. And Brian Gasser's our general manager, and he's like, "Hey, do you know this kid?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let me look at my phone." Yep, I got him. He's right here. He went to that high school, and and I sent a text, "Hey, dude, what's going on with you?" And they're like, "Coach Hallett, I was hoping you'd reach out." So we don't get them all, but we've been happy with the guys we've been getting, certainly.
Yeah, speaking of, there's the coach to player relationship, but also when, in this era, a kid is with another player that they become friends. We got two guys from an interdivision, interconference rival from Northern Illinois on our team, Christian Medlock and Rudolph there. How's their relationship, and how does it help them, start to make new friends when at least they got somebody they can sit at the dinner table together with right when they come in?
I think that's helpful. It's funny, those two guys visited Toledo on the same weekend, and it wasn't by design, like, "Hey, we're bringing you as a package deal." Just, I worked out with Chris to get him here for the visit, and Coach Fleming got Rudolph here, and it was the same time frame. And at first Rudolph was going to go elsewhere and then reconsidered and then bounce back to us, and we're happy that he's here, and I'm happy with the progress Chris is making. So, I think it's good. You have your own teammate there. I think that's great. But at least in my room, the guys you're probably going to have the greatest relationship with are the guys at your position. And it's not that we don't cross over with other positions, but the the old line's like mushrooms. You put us in the dark, you feed us crap, and expect us to flourish. So we're gonna stick together in my room for sure.
Nice. Yeah, last year, I know that the team and some individual coaches or whatever took some heat just for the lack of run production. Well, we didn't have the running backs that were there, but if you look at the pass, passing offense and the statistics that your old line put up for the passing offense, it was really good, if not at the top of the MAC. Coming in this year with the newcomers and the new running backs that are in the room, do you expect a lot of changes there?
I think we'll be more productive. I coached 8 years before last year, and we were very productive in all of those years. Last year was, to me, more of an anomaly than what is to be expected. Right. And I get it. Nobody's happy with Toledo not winning every game by 50 and running the ball for 500 yards and throwing it for 500 yards.
Yeah, what's the matter with you guys? Come on.
Yeah, it's my fault. My fault. I'll try to be better this year. But we had a lot of inexperienced players that, had great moments, had some bright shining moments, and also had some tough ones. And my job is to make sure we're creating consistency in that group at all times. And, we've made huge strides. 2 springs ago, I've got 5 guys that haven't played together or don't hardly some of them knew each other, but some of them didn't. And you're trying to create cohesion. And some of the games were very cohesive and some weren't. I think, we finished the season last year with a couple really big wins, but also a couple really dumb losses. And, how do you attack that in the spring to get better? And I think our guys really took ownership of who do we need to be? We want to be physical. We want to be a group that is connected and cohesive and can communicate really well. And I think I've got a number of guys that are filling that mold very well.
Now, Coach, you as a co-offensive coordinator along with Robert Weiner, offensive line coach. I mean, you got a quarterback back there in Tucker Gleason. He's no small fellow, 6'3", 245. What does he do that makes your guys up front job a little easier?
Well, I think Tucker has really good pocket presence. He understands, when he should climb into the pocket. The edges are wide. The interior is set at good depth. He understands where his escape lanes are. I think he has a really good understanding of, the spacing and concept of what our routes are. And he has the ability to run the ball well. We've been fortunate here with the last couple quarterbacks that, being able to pull the ball down and go make something happen or design draw plays or things like that. I think that plays into those guys' strengths. And I think that certainly fits Tucker as well.
And then you have John Allen Richter as the backup. He's no small fellow either, 6'3", 225. And when pressed into duty last year, had a pretty good year. He completed over 64% of his passes, almost 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. What does he do differently that, should something go wrong with Tucker? I mean, get hurt or something like that, and then you got to bring Richter in. How does
that was kind of what happened in the NIU game last year. Tucker was banged up, and so John Allen got the start, and he threw the ball really well. Now, he's not the same runner that Tucker is, but he can get himself out of trouble, and I think John Allen's strength is if he's moving or pulling the ball, it's not necessarily to take off running. It's to keep a play alive and find the receivers that are on scramble rules and are getting to where they need to get to. He's got a cannon for an arm. He'll throw it now. But I think he's really done a good job of really understanding like our intermediate and underneath passing game. And, he had some shots today that were just fantastic. Yesterday and today both. It wasn't a down the field ball. It was a crossing route that he hit. The guy caught it in speed, turned up the field, and it's a 20-yard gain. Like, there's good things going on with both those guys. And, our other guys are doing really well also. Caleb Osborne has been fantastic through the spring and so far in camp. And Walter Moses was an early enrolled freshman, and Walter's really starting to show some things too. So, we feel those 4 guys are really, really all have bright futures with us.
One of the things I've noticed also with Tucker and John Allen is the fact that it seems like they're good buddies too. Whenever I see them out, like at a basketball game, they're hanging out together, and that's pretty cool when you have competition like that. It can also involve friendship.
I think Coach Weiner does a great job of building internal camaraderie in that room, and that is a hard room to have that because typically it's one guy's job, right. And to have a guy that says, "Hey, it's his turn." I understand that. I'm going to work my tail off to be the best I can be, and when my opportunities come, I'm not going to waste them. That's a special deal in that room. You see so many college quarterbacks that I didn't get what I wanted, and I'm moving on. And for some of them, it works out really well, and for some, it doesn't. Right. But to maintain the level of camaraderie that those guys have with each other, they stand like when we're in practice, the offense is on the field, everybody else is off the field, but the quarterbacks are usually kind of 15 yards back from the offense, so they have vision on what's going on, and those guys cheer for each other like it's a cheering section. So that's really cool to see. There's no jealousy or resentment there. They're all pulling for each other to be the best that they can be.
Yeah, it's cool. Always nice to hear those stories because you hear of guys even in the pros, like with the whole Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers situation, or Aaron Rodgers and
Jordan Love.
They're just going to let him sit on the sideline and watch and not do any mentoring or any, helping coach him up or anything. And I'm hoping that that's not the situation. I wouldn't think that from Tucker being in that room.
No, those guys are great teammates, great elder statesmen of our program. They know how it's supposed to operate, and they just took a set of 5 plays. And so Tucker will go back and John will be in, John Allen will be in, but he's talking to Caleb and Walter and those guys like, hey, here's what I saw. What'd you see? It's a very interactive group. So and it's a different deal when you're a 23-year-old or whatever, 23-year-old senior, and there's an 18 or 19-year-old kid there. That's different than I'm a 15-year NFL veteran and they drafted this kid in the second round to take my job. There's different relationships there.
I guess that was a bad comparison now that I think of it.
Coach, before we get out of here with a fun question, I got one more question. As a former video student, I remember back in the day we had a period called Win the West during every practice, and obviously there's no divisions anymore. So has that period been replaced with Win something else, or how has practice kind of changed in the last, I don't know, since I've been there 8 years?
we still have that period, and it's still called Win the West.
That's awesome.
So.
I love that.
Yep, we still do that. We do it on a regular basis. And it's funny because, the offensive guys are working on ball security, the defensive guys are working on turnovers. My period of doing Win the West is teaching the O-line how to recover fumbles and what to do when a ball is tipped. So it's like adaptive PE over in my world while everybody else is doing really highly skilled things.
I love it.
So moving on from the quarterback, let's widen out a little bit, and I'll take a look at the running back room. We lost, obviously, Jacquez Stewart. He was our main yardage gainer last year. We lost Sauvignon Blanc or Sauvignon Clark, as he's known. And we lost a couple of other guys, Rodriguez and Paris. But we also bring in a couple of highly talented guys in Chip Trainum and Kenji Christian, along with Noah Sanders, Sean Simeon, and Williams. Cadell Williams. Taking a look at these guys, is it kind of... I'm not familiar with Kenji Christian that much. We've had a look at Chip Trainum through the years. The kid can obviously blow up some big plays. Is this kind of a situation going back a couple of years where we had the 1-2 punch of Jacquez Stewart and Penny Boone?
Or different types of runners. Okay. Different types of runners. And I don't want to step on hallowed toes, but this would be maybe a little bit more like Shaquille Seymour and Bryant Kovac.
Oh, hey, that was a great running back room, too.
That was a hell of a room.
Yeah, and I don't want to make the comparison of, 15, 16, where it was Kareem and Terry Swanson. I'm not saying that, but it's going to be a really good compliment with those two. And Connor Wallensack has had a fantastic fall camp. He has been great.
That's awesome.
So he's doing really well. He's increased his size. I think he has a better understanding of what our intent is in the run game. He's had some really, really fantastic runs. So those three guys have been really good. The two freshmen are very exciting. Noah Sanders, who is a really good high school player. He's been a really pleasant surprise when it comes to blitz situations and knowing where to be and how to fit a linebacker on a blitz. He's been really good. And Sean Simeon's, he's got really good feet. He's got some breakaway ability. I think our running back room's in great shape. Nate Cole's done a great job of getting that thing squared away.
Yeah, you got 9 guys there, and it seems like they're all talented. Wallensack, I was looking at a little bit of his numbers from last year. He seems to be a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield pretty well.
He can, and he's also very good at pass protection as well. He's a very accomplished player in a lot of areas and is a special team superstar.
He comes from a wrestler.
That guy adds value everywhere.
He comes from a wrestler's family. They know how to put a hat on another man, if you know what I mean.
That's right. And Connor, as a freshman, a true freshman, Connor logged 200 and Coach Weber just said it, 240 snaps of special teams.
Wow.
He's a running back that's behind Penny Boone and Jacquez Stewart at the time, but he played 240 snaps or whatever that was. Holy buckets, that guy has value, tons of value.
Oh, absolutely, and he probably knew he was through a battle every time with that kind of snap
absolutely.
count. And it's nice to see the talented freshmen also be there. hopefully we can retain them, through the years, and they can build. I think the word is out now that Toledo is the place to go if you want to build your skills and have a great chance to move on to the next level.
Well, I know every time we have a staff opening, this goes back to when Jason took over, he wants great teachers. And I think we have a staff of very, very good teachers. All of us that are Mount guys, we played for Larry Karras at Mount Union, who's pretty good. And his message to young guys, the guys that wanted to get into coaching or were young coaches for him, Coach Karras's mantra was always coaching is teaching and teaching is inspiring learning. And I think that's a great way as a coach to think about what it is we do. Because it doesn't matter what I know. It's, can I teach you in a way that makes you want to become that? And I think, each of us are different in the way we teach, but I think this staff is made up of great teachers. And that's really priority one when it comes to hiring guys. It's not, this guy's resume or any of that stuff. Jay wants to know what kind of human you are, what kind of character you have, what kind of husband or father you are. Can you reach kids? Can you build a relationship with kids that those kids trust you? And I think we're very fortunate because we have a staff of guys like that. I don't know that everybody can say that on their staffs, 10 deep or 15 deep or 20 deep or however many they have. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that have great teachers, but boy, we're pretty deep in the teaching deck here.
As it should be.
And what a lot of tenure as well. I mean, 6 years for you, Robert Weiner. Actually, you're in your 10th year.
Yeah.
And Karras has been there 6 years. All of a sudden, he's been there 6 years. Ross Watson's been there for a while. So I mean, it's amazing how these guys have not, you included, have not moved on. And you guys must get along okay if you're sticking around like that.
We do. I think again, there's a number of us that have long-lasting relationships. With Jason, with Vince, with Ross, with me. We're all byproducts of Mount Union. We were there at different times, but a lot of crossover. I was a senior at Mount Union when Vince was a senior in high school, and I used to train Vince in the off season as a D lineman. I'd train the defensive line at Mount Union because that's what I played, and Vince would come over and train with us. So I was coaching Vince when he was in high school in the off season.
That's cool.
And then Vince, Vince was there right after I left, and then Vince left for a year after he graduated and taught school, and he taught Ross Watson in high school, and then Ross came to Mount. Jason got there as Vince was coaching. So there's this lineage of not just coaches from Mount, but throughout the eras, from 90 to 94 or 90 to 93, 94 to 98. Campbell got there in 2001. Watson was a little bit later, 2005. There's a 12 or 13 year period that somebody touches on Mount Union, and that happened to be the best success that Mount Union ever had. I mean, yeah. Coach Karras won 54 games, lost a playoff game, and then won 55. 109-1. So that's a pretty good streak there.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So there's lessons from that experience for all of us. You're not going to go through that and not take things with you that are going to impact you and how you do this job.
Right. Just quickly touching on the tight end room, Connor, CC, Donovan, Sam, those guys, how much do you get to work with them in practice versus what's delegated to tight ends coach? Obviously they're part of the O-line.
They are. But they, the tight ends are not necessarily interacting a lot with the guards and centers. We always carve time for the tackles to go over and work with the tight ends. Okay. Because they're a little bit more connected in terms of doing that. And I've got, I'm very fortunate because in addition to me being here, I've got Max Frey, who's my GA, has been hired full time. He assists me with the O-line, and I've got former player Nick Rossi here as my GA.
Awesome.
So we're able to do a little bit of division of labor, and we can cover more ground with three of us than we could with two or if I was by myself. So Max and Nick will take the tight ends over, or the tackles over with the tight ends, and they can work on things that they need, and I can work on things with the interior guys. We do a fair amount of division of labor just to expedite the amount of things that we can get done.
And how does that tight end room look? I mean, we've got CC Ezram coming back, and Also, we've got Jacob Peterson, a transfer coming in from Holy Cross, who look like they're probably going to be the number 1 and 2 guys, possibly to replace Anthony Torres, who's now with the Rams. But we noticed that Jacob Peterson is on the roster, but he is not signed.
I don't believe that.
It's via the website, so what we can grasp as a fan.
Jacob's here. He's having a really good camp.
Yeah.
CeCe's doing really well. Donovan's doing really well. Connor Jones is, he was a linebacker. We kind of moved him into our off the ball F position. He was really good in the spring and is doing well. I like that room. I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of promise with the guys that we have there. And Coach Sage was here as a wide receiver coach when I first got here. Then he went to Washington State as a receiver coach, but then he was at UCLA as a tight end coach, and he had three of the UCLA guys went to the NFL. So Sage knows what he's doing. He played the position in college. He's been around a lot of good offensive line coaches throughout his career, and we have a really good working relationship that goes back 10 years.
Well, my one final question about the tight end room is, I'm going to hold you to this. Can you pronounce CeCe Ezram's first name?
Cesar.
Oh, I'm sorry, his middle name.
Cesar.
We'll go with Cesar. That sounds better than
Cesar.
Kasmi Sayo Choku Kuku Woo Woo Chidi.
Wow.
Yeah, Cesar.
Yes, Cesar. That spells Cesar to me too.
Why are you making this so hard? This is an easy
that was a smart way out right there.
Very good out.
All right, Nate, we got one fun question left, I think, so we don't hold you too long, and we'll get to the wide receivers after you get off. We don't, you got a lot of busy work to do in the next 2 weeks. Nate, take it away.
Yeah, just was doing some background history on you, and we actually met before at Heidelberg. You recruited Kyle and I, but saw
Neither one of you came either.
chose to go to Toledo for school rather than play D3. But
fair enough.
But saw something online that said back in 2004 you did a backflip at a mud hen.
That's on Wikipedia, which if you believe Wikipedia, you're crazy. I'm not doing anything.
I was like, man, that's an O-line coach doing a backflip.
I thought the video was pretty impressive.
I had somebody try to get in there and edit that out, and it showed back up because it's not true. I'm like, if I really would have done that, hell, that should lead the article, but I didn't do that.
I had to ask about it. I was like,
I'll knock a backflip off on a diving board in a swimming pool, but on dry ground, you must be out of your mind. There's no chance I'm going to fracture my skull and get a brain injury. I got enough brain injuries in playing D tackle for 10 years.
Some smart ass attached a video to that link now, and it's a guy doing like 9 backflips on a trampoline in a row, and it's like, damn, Mike's pretty talented.
Oh, they didn't say trampoline. Yeah, I could have done that, but I never did.
Oh, that was you then.
Yeah, sure it was. Feel like John Levis. Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, that's a ticket.
Yeah, that's a ticket.
It's a ticket.
All right, Coach. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on here. I speak for all the boys here involved. We can't wait for 3 weekends from now. Some of us will get down there to Kentucky to cheer you guys on. Any final words you have? Something special to look for as we're watching the offensive line specifically this fall?
Well, I think you're going to see a connected group that's going to play really, really hard. And contrary to popular belief, there'll probably be some mistakes throughout the season, but we're going to work to correct them. And, I love that. I always, I say this all the time. I love my guys. I always do. I tell them every day. But I really like this group because they're 20 guys all trying to get to the same spot, and they're all in different parts of that development, but they all want to be the best versions of themselves. And as a coach, that's all you can ask for, So I think this football team has a chance to do some really special things. And, it's kind of like waiting for Christmas. I wanted to hurry up and get here, but I hate saying this. I don't want to miss going shopping for the kids and I want the whole pageantry of what we have for the next 2 weeks and 2 days. I don't want to rush by that to get to game day because tomorrow's the most important day of the world.
Right. Exactly.
And then Friday's going to be the most important day of the world. And then Saturday will be and I think our team has a really good mindset about today is what's important. And if you're looking at December, I think you're looking way past what you need to worry about. And that's how do I be better today? So I think our guys have really embraced that as a team, certainly in my room. And they're a fun group to be around. I love those guys. There's so much. There's so much.
They've
fun.
got a good teacher.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, Max Ray doing a great job.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Good luck this year, and go Rockets.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. We'll see you out there.
Yeah, okay, so Coach Mike Hallett, offensive line coach, co-offensive coordinator, joining us. Second time he's been on this show, if my memory serves me correctly.
It is.
Yeah, see, I mean, it's hard to count to two.
It's been about, I think it's probably been close to 3 years now since he's been on, because we did.
It was before my time.
Yeah, we did it in Kyle's study.
Oh,
it's now Isaac's playroom.
Right.
I don't have a study anymore.
His former office study.
My study's a toilet in the garage.
There you go.
It's the only spaces I get.
That's where the 60-inch TV went.
That's right. The toilet.
So guys, we touched on the O-line, the running back room, tight ends. Anything else that we we kind of saw how last year went. We know how tough it was for the offensive line being a whole new group. And the criticism that came with last year's unit. But also last year's highs were as high as we've had here in Toledo in a while, besides just that weekend where we beat Bowling Green. What do we think a successful year looks like on the offense this year in 2025?
I think Coach was speaking the truth here, and I think we're going to see a more cohesive offensive line. They definitely improved through the season, I think we saw. But just the addition of the depth in the running back room will help a ton. I think Connor did a great job stepping up where he needed to, but I mean, it was just tough. I mean, obviously they were a pass-first offense, and it's just, I think it's just going to build upon that. I think we got a few good transfers coming in for wide receiver. I think our tight ends are athletic as hell, and
for sure,
we know what Tucker can do. So
yeah,
there's no reason to think that this won't be a great season.
And I think, guys, we're going to get back to having 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard receiver, which last year we didn't have either, and it was weird.
It was.
We have to probably go back to the 80s for the last time that happened.
Well, I think Jerwan with the bowl game got over 1,000, and Junior was really, really close.
Yeah.
But just as far as like carries go, like we were used to being a 50-50 run pass offense, and last year it was like slanted almost 70-30.
Right.
And I mean, that makes things tough when you're play calling. It's almost like the defense knows what's coming. Like, where's your strengths? We're going to stack where we need to.
Yeah, and we were used to a running quarterback, Daquan Finn, and when he gets the second or third most carries on the team, that makes sense. Last year it was Tucker.
Yeah.
So I mean, we obviously had injuries. Willie Shaw wasn't healthy very much. Chaquez was in and out. He battled through every game, but he wasn't healthy every game. And Savion Blanc is now gone.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that we brought in really, I think, a big time running back that, although he did transfer down to us, he might be a guy that we see on Sundays here in the near future.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. We also, I know he's from Northern, but I think we brought in a nice kind of a stud of a receiver as well.
Travion Rudolph, man.
Yeah, Travion Rudolph, a big kid out of Northern Illinois. He's got 2,000 career yards.
Yeah,
I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. They usually play a pretty tough schedule, and he's also rushed the ball 41 times.
He's got 4 touchdowns rushing.
Yeah, so he's obviously got some diverse talent there. And then you team him up with Vander Ross and Zoros and a couple of the other guys that are. I guess Cooper Rusk is having a very good camp.
Which, yeah, he's one of those kind of unproven guys. He's someone that I really want to see, step into that third or fourth position because, we've talked. I mean, I've been on this show for 2 years now, coming into seasons, and Zyros hasn't really been the guy that we thought he could be.
Right.
He had that big touchdown against Ohio State, and I thought that might be what broke him into, that big, highest tier of guys. Like, the dude's 6'3", and he's built like Steven Williams was. If you're old enough to remember Steven Williams at Toledo, the dude was a dog. And
yes.
And Zyros, as a St. John's guy, obviously has the dog in him. But I want to see that come into fruition. And I mean, with him, we've got a lot of incoming guys that I'm like Tashi Braceful, I think that he's going to break onto the scene. Maybe not this year, but maybe this year. We got Eric Holly, who was there and had 15 receptions last year for 100 and some yards. Like, this room is very deep, but obviously the first name that comes to this room's name, that's Junior Vandeross. And Junior is, I mean, I don't even really know how to explain it, how explosive he is. And if you can do a backflip into the end zone in a bowl game, you're already at the top of my list for most favorite guy on the team. So I really hope that he continues it and again makes his way in the NFL after we are 16-0 and win the national championship, or however that goes.
He honestly, watching Lions over the years, he reminds me a little bit of Golden Tate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He just knew where to be and just consistent hands, and he huge
Great
plays.
hands. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And Dan, you were correct 100%. Jawan Newton, 99 yards in the bowl game against Pitt, so that took him to 1,048 for the year. So,
one more guy in that room to take a look at is Zamarian Lang. Not a huge kid, but a good-sized kid at 6'3", 180. Didn't have a lot of action last year, but when he did, it was big plays. He had 4 catches for 80 yards, and 2 of those went for touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I remember his play against Duquesne. Near the end of the game, we were like, "All right, we got a freshman here. He's ready to go. Let's see what happens." And then he kind of did the same thing against Central Michigan, where one of the lesser teams that we ended up playing last year. But you could tell that like once the 1 and 2 guys were out, he was the star. So Zamarian Lang's definitely going to be pushing for a top 3 wideout spot this year in 2025.
Yeah, and he's having a great camp, apparently, from what the sources are saying, that he's doing some freakish type things on the field. So
I love to hear that.
That's what's interesting this year is obviously Vandeross is the guy. But behind that, I think there's room for anybody to step up.
Yep,
for sure. And our only real loss, which, obviously Jawan Newton was a huge loss, but our only loss of guy that had eligibility was Larry Stevens.
Yeah.
And he had a couple freakish plays last year too, but seemed a little misutilized. And I believe he's at UAB now or another mid-major.
He went down to FCS.
Oh, was it Florida A&M maybe?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Or something like that.
Down in your nape of the neck.
Nape of the way.
So yeah, that's really the only loss we're seeing in this wide receiver room. Like I said, 7 or 8 of the guys have been with Tucker for a year, been with Jar for a year. I think the sky's the limit for this offense, and if we can open up that run game, just the passing game's gonna fly.
That's football 101.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of NCAA 26.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Stevens actually went to Indiana State.
Oh.
So he's a Sycamore. I went to Larry Berg U.
Wrong guy. Sorry.
There is a guy that went to at FAMU, as we like to call it down here in the Sunshine
It was
State.
our other quarterback. That's who went there.
Yeah. What's his name?
Yeah, well, good old what's his name?
What's a who's it's?
We got Terrell Crosby, who had a 2-point conversion. The first one where we went right and then threw it to him wide open in the left against Pittsburgh in overtime. He was injured most of last year, and once we started to see him play, I think he's got a lot of value. He might be someone else that breaks out. I believe he's going to be a 5th-year junior this year.
Who is that? I'm sorry.
Terrell Crosby from Iowa State.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a deep room. Bud Elliott from the Cover 3 podcast, CBS guy, he always says, though, if you don't have one guy, then you have nobody. And I'm glad that we have Junior Vandeross to, stand on. But I do think the room is deep, and we'll see that come into fruition this year in 2025.
Well, adding to the depth of that room is one guy we would be very remiss on not mentioning is one of Ryan's favorite players, Bryson Hammer, our punt return specialist. He's listed as a receiver at 5'10", 190, but we all know what he can do and where his
Well, dude's got breakaway speed.
Oh, yeah.
So we know that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you get him out on a screen, you get him on a bubble screen, something like that, but we don't do the bubble screens anymore really that much. So
yeah, and he's got sure hands.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the first years that I don't really remember a muff punt at all last year. Like he just yeah, I forget muffs all the time. All right.
All right.
Now, just one more, just a little bit going back. We do have another running back that we haven't really talked about, Mike Drennan.
Yeah.
Another Kentucky product. We've got 2 Kentucky running backs. That's got to help us in week 1, right?
The one thing that was running through my head is like, you get early season here and you're looking at game film from teams that you're going to play, especially out of conference. And you can look at schemes at what the coaches usually run, but the amount of turnover in NIL where you have players leaving, coming, to actually see individual players in those positions, I feel like is a lot tougher now.
I could not agree more. I mean, Kentucky's got to be mad that they scheduled us, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, they got a contract.
Well, I know, but like
3-1 or something like that.
I've seen a few projections for SEC where Kentucky's, if not at the bottom, like bottom 3.
Yeah, they're 1-7, 2-6 is kind of what they're hoping for. They got to beat us in Eastern Michigan out of conference to like even sniff a bowl. And they got Ole Miss after us. So, we'll get into the Kentucky game. Obviously, it's on our minds right now. But like, if Kentucky is as bad as you could be at scheduling a cupcake, like, why the hell are they their fans are like, dude, we're like 9-point favorites against Toledo. Like, we do not feel good about this game. No. And they have 2 of our ex-players on the team. Like, this is just Coach Stoops is going to be in trouble here, I think, in the next 3 weeks. And I'm super glad that we have this offense put together.
Well, just Kentucky in general, too. What was their player count that left in the offseason? It was like in the 30s.
I know that they have 40-some transfers coming in. So,
yeah.
Ryan, I know you'll know this. Who is the former Toledo guy that coached at Kentucky?
Vince Merritt.
Yeah, and Vince is gone now. So
he's now the GM at Louisville.
Yeah, so I wonder if that made any kind of difference of these guys bailing from the program that were also recruited by Toledo, because Vince was a Toledo guy. So I'm thinking, they're going after the same kind of kids around the Midwest.
Yeah, I wonder. It's interesting.
I mean,
I know Coach Merrill was at Springfield for a while.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Before going to Kentucky. So.
Yeah, there was a Kovac connection there. There was an Eric Page connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he left this spring. And so that kind of, raised the red flag within the Kentucky community. Like, right. Hey, if this guy's been with Stoops forever, if he's dodging town to go to Louisville, which is an in-state rival, then, maybe things aren't looking up and up. And that's why, the public's on Toledo right now, but I've got really high hopes. I don't think Kentucky's in a very good spot for us. But again, we'll get to that in a week and a half here. Anything else to wrap up the offense before next week's podcast where we tackle the defense and special teams?
Yeah, I'm gonna work on a guest this week to see if we can get it. It may or may not happen, but I'm gonna work hard at it. So.
Can you get Roxy the Rocket?
I could probably get her to join us in person.
It might be quiet.
As we say in the TV business, Pat will be efforting a
yes.
Yes,
Ryan,
next week.
Just so you know, we know you're a big fan just by your camera.
Oh, that was good.
There it is. Yeah, so we have the air conditioner set at 78 right now, and it's 81.
Jesus.
So it's it's less humid, but
for you
the air conditioning.
For you Seinfeld fans, reminds me of the episode where Jerry's visiting his parents, and they never ran the AC in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Ryan, we might cover your camera for this whole episode, but we might just show this part just so the fan part,
right?
The fan pun makes sense.
The fan's been up there all day.
Hey, this is our biggest fan,
right?
Exactly, our biggest fan in Florida
for sure.
Oh man.
All right, guys. So what do we say, Pat, when we're ready to wrap it up?
Oh, let's get a little blue and gold bow and tie this bitch up.
Wow.
Oh, I like that. That's a new twist to this year.
That's right. A little blue and gold ribbon, and give her a knot.
I like it. Anyway, thanks for joining us. I'm Rocket Ryan Brand.
I am PJ Spiller, and I didn't spill anything tonight. Also known as Pat Jellick.
I'm Dan Rocket Man Savage.
I'm Nate the Texas Rocket.
I'm Kyle W.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody. Good morning, whenever you're listening to this. Good day. Good rock. Go Rocket. EOL.
EDO.